Next, I thought I would talk a little about the process for making piece by piece. Are you someone who likes to draw comics? Or maybe you're wondering if you're that kind of someone? When I was your age, I wanted to draw so bad, but everything I drew looked awful to me. I felt like I could never draw a whole comic book until I got good. What changed? I realized you can only get good if you practice, so I started drawing comics even though they looked bad to me. And I realized there isn't really good or bad when it comes to art. Sometimes I don't like my drawings, but sometimes I do. Anyway, the first thing you need to make a graphic novel is an idea. This idea came from my life. Like Nisrin, I was 14 in 2002. I started wondering, what would my life be like if I had had supportive family at that time? Would I be a hijabi now? That idea gave me other ideas, and I rushed to write them down. Next is the plot synopsis. What will be the beginning, middle, and end? I don't want to spoil the book, but for me, my beginning was a young Bangladeshi American girl is attacked while wearing shalwar kameez. This leads her to decide to wear hijab. My middle. But her family disapproves. The world disapproves. Does her friend disapprove? What will she do? And my ending is the answers to those questions. Next, I wrote an outline. An outline is a more detailed version of the synopsis. It's full of lots of mini beginnings, middles, and ends. How do we flesh out the beginning? Does anything happen to make her want to wear hijab? What kind of things could happen around her to make her feel sure of her choice? I kept answering these questions until I had a complete outline, the story told without any pictures or much dialogue. Then I got help. I sent the outline to my agent and asked for critique. She told me what parts were confusing, and I thought about those criticisms and I made some changes. I'm glad I did because the story is stronger for it. Stories are like conversations we have with people. So it's good to get feedback and learn how your words might sound to others. This can be scary, especially if people have been mean to you in the past. So be brave and remember it's okay to make mistakes. We all do. After that was done, I wrote the script. I'm an artist, and comics are a visual medium, so I recommend you draw the script as you write it. You can draw little thumbnails, super small pages, or something I like to do is make a dummy book out of printer paper. That way there's room to draw or write details, but it's not full size and it will take less time to finish. If you're working alone or with friends, this can be the last step before you draw the final art. But if you're working with a publisher, you need to make the script something that they can read, understand, and edit. Usually, people like to see a script formatted like this. This is more accessible for everyone. Next is the exciting part, drawing the book. This will look different for everybody. I like to paint, so I usually draw on printer paper and pencil, and then use a light box to paint on a fresh sheet of watercolor paper. For this book, I drew inks in a program called Procreate on the iPad, duplicated that layer and lowered the opacity, then turned the original ink layer to a blending mode called Overlay. This makes the ink on top pick up the color of the paint underneath. I painted with digital watercolor brushes that I bought from another artist who had made them. Finally, the speech bubbles go on top of the art. I hand lettered piece by piece, but most people hire a letterer to finish their book. It's a very important job. The words need to be easy to read and not distract from the art. It's a lot harder than it might sound. And then I was lucky enough to have my book published. Usually I publish my books at home with a printer and a stapler, or I hire another artist to do that on their fancier printer with fancier paper. This is definitely the fanciest book I've ever had printed, and I'm very grateful to have gotten the chance.